Namaskar, Om Shakti Hrim, Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Narayanaya. The Vishnu Purana, a story of life, Krishna Bhagavan. By then, part 2. By then the co-heads had realized that Krishna was not an ordinary man. They were slightly scared, but Krishna comforted them and told them that he was their friend. One day, an asura known as Arishta arrived there. This asura had the form of a bull. The bull was as dark as the clouds. The horns were sharp and pointed, and his eyes were bright as the sun. He tore up the ground with his hoofs. He was so tall that it was impossible to climb over him. The bull used to kill the calves and the sages. Everyone was frightened at Arishta's arrival, but Krishna clapped his hands. On hearing the sound of the clap, Arishta charged at Krishna with horns lowered. Krishna grasped the horns and stopped the bull. Then he hit Arishta with his thighs. Finally he tore off one of the horns and attacked Arishta with it. The deity vomited blood and died. Narada related all of Krishna's exploits to Kamsa, and Kamsa was enraged. He decided that Balarama and Krishna would have to be killed before they become adults. Kamsa had two strong wrestlers known as Chanura and Mushtika. He plotted to have a wrestling match between Balarama and Krishna, and these two wrestlers and thereby kill the two brothers off. The occasion for this wrestling match would be a yajna that Kamsa would arrange. He would therefore send Akrura to Gokula to bring Balarama and Krishna to Mathura. In addition, he would send an asura known as Keshi to try to kill the two brothers in Gokula itself. A strong elephant called Kuvalapida would also be let loose on the brothers. Keshi adopted the form of a horse and went to Vrindavana. He tore up the ass with the hoofs, he shook the clouds with his mane, and he attacked the sun and the moon on his way to Vrindavana. The cowherds were naturally frightened, but Krishna was there to protect them. He inserted his hands into the horse's mouth and broke off the horse's teeth. Like white clouds, one by one the teeth fell down on the ground. After that, Krishna tore off the asura's lips, and the asura began to vomit blood. His eyes fell off. Krishna then tore Keshi into two with his hands. Because Krishna killed Keshi, he came to be known as Keshava. Meanwhile, Akrura arrived in Gokula and told Balarama and Krishna of Kamsa's invitation. The two brothers accepted the invitation and resolved to go to Mathura. The cowherds were naturally sorry to see Krishna go. They thought that he would never return to Gokula again. In a chariot, Akrura, Balarama and Krishna set out for Mathura. They reached Mathura in the evening. Akrura went ahead to the palace in the chariot, while Balarama and Krishna entered the city on foot. On the streets they met a washerman. They asked the washerman for some nice clothes. But the washerman was Kamsa's servant. Not only did he refuse the clothes, he also abused the two brothers. So Krishna hit the evil washerman with his palm and split his head in two. Balarama and Krishna then took away whatever clothes they wanted. Balarama dressed in blue and Krishna dressed in yellow. They then went to the house of a gallant seller. The gallant seller thought that these two were gods, and when Balarama and Krishna asked for flowers, not only did he give them many flowers, he also worshipped them. Krishna blessed the gallant seller. On the streets they also met a young woman. The woman was pretty, but had a hump on her back. Her name was Kuja. She carried a salver of sandalwood paste in her hands. But for whom is this paste? Asked Krishna. This is for Kamsa, was the reply. He was appointed me to make fragrant paste for him. Please give us the paste, said Krishna. This paste is fit for us, for our bodies. Kubja complied, and Balarama and Krishna rubbed the paste on their bodies. Then Krishna grasped Kubja's chin with his index and middle fingers. He pressed down her feet with his own so they did not move. As he exerted pressure upwards, Kubja's body straightened and the hump disappeared. Kubja became a beautiful woman. At the yajna that Kamsa had arranged, a bowl was to be worshipped. Krishna and Balarama asked various gods where this bowl was being kept. They arrived at that room and Krishna proceeded to tie a string to the bowl. But the bowl snapped, and the sound of the bowl snapping was heard throughout the palace. The gods come and attacked Krishna and Balarama, but the two brothers killed all the gods. But then Kamsa had got to know that Krishna and Balarama had come to Mathura. So he called Chanura and Mushtika and told them to go and wrestle with the two brothers and kill them. He also called the servant who was in charge of his elephants. He told him to place the huge elephant known as Kuvalapida at the main gate to the palace. It was night. After issuing this instruction, Kamsa waited for morning. When it was morning, arrangements were made for wrestling match. There were ordinary seats for ordinary citizens around the arena where the match was to take place. Kings and special guests had special seats reserved for them. Kamsa sat on the highest seat of all. The woman sat behind a Persian. Among the spectators were Nanda and the co-heads, Vasudeva, Akrura and Devaki. Martial music started to be played. Chanura and Mushtika stood in the middle of the arena, exhibiting their strengths. Krishna and Balarama entered the arena. At the main gate they had killed the elephant Kuvalapida, and they carried the bloody tusk in their hands. The schedule was that Krishna would fight with Chanura and Balarama would fight with Mushtika. The first wrestling match between Krishna and Chanura began. It was a terrible bout to behold. Both were strong fighters, but eventually Krishna raised Chanura's body aloft and whirled it round 100 times before throwing Chanura down on the ground. Chanura died. Meanwhile, Balarama had started to fight with Mushtika. He hit Mushtika's head and chest with his fist and thighs, and he grasped Mushtika so hard that the breath of life went out of Mushtika's body. Krishna also killed another wrestler whose name was Tashalaka. Kamsa was very angry. He instructed his gods to capture Krishna and Balarama and tie them up into iron chains. The gods were also to chain up Vasudeva and the co-heads. But Krishna merely laughed. He jumped up on the stage where Kamsa was sitting and caught hold of the Kamsa's hair. He threw Kamsa down the ground and Kamsa, son of Ugrasena, died. Krishna pulled the dead body down to the arena. Kamsa's body was so heavy that a huge pit was created where the dead body was placed. Kamsa had a brother called Sumali, and Sumali attacked Krishna and Balarama. But Balarama killed Sumali very easily. Krishna and Balarama then went and met Vasudeva and Devaki. Kamsa had imprisoned his own father Ugrasena. Krishna released Ugrasena from the prison and made him king. Krishna also obtained a beautiful assembly hall named Sudharma from Indra. This he presented to King Ugrasena. Since Kamsa was now dead, it was time for Krishna and Balarama to go to their Guru's house for studying. The Guru was a sage named Sandipani who lived in Kashi. Then Krishna and Balarama went to learn, amongst other things, the art of fighting. It took them only 64 days to learn all this. After the Shishya study are completed, he has to give a dakshina to his Guru. Sandipani's son had died, and as Guru Dakshina, Sandipani desired that his dead son might be brought back to life. After death, the sage Sandipani's son had gone to the great ocean. Krishna and Balarama took up their weapons and went to the ocean to demand the sun. The ocean told them that the sun was actually with a Daitya named Pancharjna, who had the form of a conch shell. Krishna entered the ocean and killed it. From the skeleton of the Daitya was made the conch shell Pancharjna that Krishna blows. To get back the dead sun, Krishna and Balarama also had to go to Yama's world and to defeat Yama. They did that and returned the sun to the stage Sandipani. They then returned to Mathura. Kamsa had married two of Jarasandha's daughters. These daughters were known as Asti and Prapti. On hearing that Krishna had killed his son-in-law, Jarasandha raised a huge army and attacked the Yadavas. The city of Mathura was under siege by the king of Magadha. Krishna and Balarama had only a few soldiers, as compared to Jarasandha's gigantic army. But still they came out to fight. From the sky a bow called Sharanga, two quivers that never ran out of arrows, and a mace named Kaumadaki fell into Krishna's hand. For Balarama the weapons were a plough and a club, named Sunanda. Jarasandha was defeated by the two brothers and he fled. After a few days Jarasandha attacked once more and was defeated yet again. This continued. There were 18 occasions on which Jarasandha attacked and was defeated by the Yadavas. There was a Brahmana named Gargya who had been insulted and ridiculed by the Yadavas. This Brahmana went to the shores of the southern ocean and began to perform tapasya. His desire was a son who would be the scourge of the Yadavas. As part of the tapasya, he ate only iron dust for food. The tapasya went on for 12 years, and at the end of it Mahadeva was pleased. The Brahmana obtained the desired boon. The son who was born was black of hue. The king of Yavanas had no son, and the Brahmana's son was adopted by the Yavana king. Eventually the son became the king of the Yavanas and came to be known as Kalyavana. Kalyavana wanted to know the name of all the powerful kings on earth from Narada. He was told the names of the Yadava kings, so he decided to attack the Yadavas. He collected thousands and thousands of chariots, horses, elephants and infantry. Then he came to Mathura to wage war. Krishna was worried. He realized that the Yadavas would become weakened from the war with Kalyavana. And if Jarasandha's attack came after that, the Yadavas might even lose at the hands of Jarasandha. On the other hand, if the Yadavas became weak from a war with Jarasandha, they might lose the war with Kalyavana. There was danger from both sides. It was therefore necessary to build a strong fort from where the Yadavas could wage a long drawn out war, even in the absence of Krishna. On the shores of the ocean, Krishna therefore built the city of Dwaraka. There were many gardens and lakes in Dwaraka, but more importantly it was surrounded by walls and moats on all sides, and there were several forts inside the city. All the citizens of Mathura were brought to Dwaraka. Krishna then appeared before Kalyavana. At the sight of Krishna, Kalyavana began to follow him, desirous of fight. Krishna had a plan. He went inside a cave where a powerful king known as Muchukunda was sleeping. Kalyavana followed Krishna inside the cave. It was dark inside, so that Kalyavana could not make out that the person who was sleeping was Muchukunda and not Krishna. So thinking that it was Krishna, Kalyavana kicked the body. When the king woke up, the anger in him came out as fire through his eyes, and this fire burned up Kalyavana into ashes. Many years ago, King Muchukunda had taken part in a fight between the Devas and the Asuras. After killing many Asuras, Muchukunda was tired. He craved a boon from the gods that he might sleep for a long period of time. The Devas granted the boon and also said that whoever woke up, Muchukunda would be burnt into ashes by the flames that would come out of the king's body. Having burnt up, Kalyavana, King Muchukunda came out of the cave and found the people were now much shorter than they used to be. He realized that the Kali era must have arrived and went off to do tapasya on Mount Gandhamadana. Kalyavana's soldiers were defeated by Krishna. Now that there was peace, Balarama went on a trip to Gokula. There he met all his old friends and thoroughly enjoyed himself. One day he found that there was wine issuing out of Kadamba tree. Balarama drank a lot of the wine and became drunk. Since he was drunk, he had lost control of his sense. He therefore told the river Yamuna, "River Yamuna, I feel like having a bath. Change your course and come here so that I may fulfill my desire." Yamuna ignored this instruction. At this, Balarama was enraged and took up his plough. With his plough he grasped the river and pulled her towards himself. "You won't come, will you?" he said. "Let me see how you can flow where you wish." The course of the river was changed. Yamuna appeared before Balarama and begged for forgiveness. This was granted. When Balarama's bath was over, Lakshmi appeared before him and gave him a garland of lotuses, which never fade. She also gave him 2 pieces of blue clothing. Balarama returned to Dwaraka after having spent 2 months in Gokula. He married King Raivati's daughter Revati and had 2 sons named Nishchata and Ulmuka. There was a king named Bhishmaka who ruled in the kingdom of Kundina. The king had a son named Rukmi and a daughter named Rukmini. Krishna and Rukmini wished to marry each other, but Rukmi did not like Krishna, so he refused to get his sister married off to Krishna. Bhishmaka was also an ally of Jarasandha's, so he agreed with Rukmi and decided to marry his daughter to Shishupala. All these allies of all Jarasandha's went to Kundina to witness the marriage, and Krishna and the Yadavas also went there. But one day before the marriage was due to take place, Krishna abducted Rukmini. There happened several kings like Pundarika, Dantavakra, Viduratha, Shishupala, Jarasandha and Shalva attacked the Yadavas so as to kill Krishna. But they were defeated by Balarama and the other Yadavas. Rukmi resolved, "I will not return to Kundina without killing Krishna." He followed Krishna with many soldiers, horses, elephants and chariots. But Krishna easily defeated Rukmi. When Krishna was about to kill Rukmi, Rukmini said, "I have only one brother, please spare his life." Krishna spared Rukmi's life, but Rukmi had resolved that he would not return to Kundina without killing Krishna. So he had to build a new city known as Bhojakata, where he began to live. Krishna married Rukmini according to the Rakshasa form of marriage. They had a son called Pradyumna, who was kidnapped by Shambhara Asura as soon as he was born. But later Pradyumna was to kill Shambhara Asura. "Tell me this story," asked Maitreya of Parashara. Shambhara Asura knew that Pradyumna was destined to kill him. So, 6 days after Pradyumna's birth, he kidnapped the newly born baby and threw it into the ocean. The ocean was full of sharks and crocodiles. The baby might have died, but a fish swallowed it up and the baby was saved. Later on, some fishermen caught the fish, then brought it to the Shambhara Asura kitchen. Shambhara Asura had a housekeeper named Mayavati. When the fish was caught, Mayavati found the baby inside. She was very surprised. Who is this boy, and how did he come to be there? She wondered. She went to Narada to find out who the boy was, and Narada told her the entire story. He also told her to ensure that the boy was brought up properly. This Mayavati proceeded to do. She was well versed in the teaching of Maya or illusions, and this she taught to Pradyumna. When Pradyumna grew up, she told him the entire story of his birth and kidnapping. Hearing this, Pradyumna challenged Shambharasura to a duel. Shambharasura used a lot of Maya, but thanks to Mayavati, Pradyumna had also learned the use of Maya. So he did manage to kill Shambharasura. After this, Pradyumna and Mayavati returned to Krishna and Rukmini. Everyone was happy and Pradyumna married Mayavati. Apart from Pradyumna, Krishna and Rukmini had 8 other sons and a daughter. And apart from Rukmini, Krishna had 7 other major wives. Their names were Kalindi, Mitravinda, Satya, Jambavati, Rohini, Sushila, Satyabhama, Lakshmana. The total number of Krishna's wives was 16,000. Pradyumna married King Rukmi's daughter and had a son named Aniruddha. Aniruddha married Rukmi's granddaughter. On the occasion of this marriage, Krishna, Balarama and the other Yadavas arrived at Rukmi's capital, Bhojakata. After the marriage was over, some kings told Rukmi, Balarama is addicted to playing dice. Also, he cannot play it well. Why not arrange match of dice in which we can defeat Balarama? Rukmi agreed to the proposition and a match was arranged in which Rukmi played with Balarama. In the first round, Rukmi won 4,000 gold pieces of Balarama. This happened a second time and a third time as well. At this, the king of Kalinga and Rukmi began to laugh at Balarama. Balarama got angry and placed 4 crores of gold pieces as a bet. Rukmi threw the dice, but this time Balarama won. I have won, said Balarama. No, you have not, replied Rukmi. You did place the bet, but I did not accept it. So you have not really won. Words were then heard from heaven which said that it was Balarama who was in the right. Also, Rukmi had not verbally accepted the bet. His throwing of the dice meant that the bet was acceptable to him. This roused Balarama's anger and he picked up a dice and killed Rukmi with it. He also caught hold of the king of Kalinga and broke off the king's teeth. It was with these teeth that the king of Kalinga had laughed at Balarama. Many were the other kings whom Balarama killed on this occasion. Once Indra came to Dwaraka on the elephant Airavata. He met Krishna and complained about the behavior of Daitya named Narakasura. This Narakasura was the son of Prithvi and the king of Prayagjotishapura. He was oppressing all living beings. He was kidnapping the daughters of devas, asuras and kings and imprisoning them in his house. Naraka had also stolen Varuna's umbrella from which the rains came, and the peak of Mount Mandara. In addition, he had robbed Indra's mother Aditi of her earrings and was now threatening to steal Airavata. Krishna decided to do something about Narakasura. He thought of Garuda and immediately Garuda appeared before him. Krishna and Satyabhama got onto Garuda and flew towards Prayagjotishapura. There was an asura named Muru who had installed many sharp stakes around Naraka's city. But Krishna sliced off these stakes with his Sudarshana chakra. And when Muru attacked him, Krishna killed Muru and his 7,000 sons with the chakra. He also killed 2 others, Hayagriva and Panchajna, and arrived at Prayagjotishapura. A terrible war raged between the armies of Narakasura and Krishna. Krishna killed thousands and thousands of asuras and sliced Narakasura in 2 with his chakra. Inside Narakasura's palace, Krishna found 16,000 and 1,100 women whom Narakasura had imprisoned. There were also several horses and 6,000 elephants with 4 tusks each. All of this Krishna sent to Dwaraka. Krishna put the other things that Naraka had stolen on Garuda and proceeded towards heaven to return them to their rightful owners. Krishna arrived at the gate of heaven and blew open his conch shell. The gods came out to worship Krishna. Krishna first went to Aditi's house and returned her earrings. Aditi blessed Satyabhama and gave her the boon that Satyabhama would never grow old or ugly. She would be in state of perpetual youth. Aditi also told Indra to worship Krishna, but Indra's wife, Shakti, thought that Satyabhama was a mere human, so she did not give Satyabhama any parijata flowers. Also she wore them herself. Krishna and Satyabhama went for a stroll in the gardens, and there they saw the parijata tree. The leaves of the tree were of copper color and the bark was of gold. Satyabhama said, "Why don't you take this tree to Dwarka?" And she persisted, "If you really love me, please take this tree to our house. I will wear the flowers on my hand." Krishna laughed. He uprooted the tree and placed it on Garuda's back. The gods said, "Please don't take this tree. It belongs to Shakti, the wife of Indra." They also pointed out that the taking of the tree would arouse the wrath of the gods. At this Satyabhama grew angry. "Who is Indra and who is Shakti?" she said. "This tree came out of the churning of the ocean, so it belongs to everyone. Why should Indra alone enjoy it? My husband is taking away this tree. Go and tell Shakti this. Let me see if your husband can prevent it from happening. Go and tell Shakti that a mere human is taking the tree away." The gods went and told Shakti what was happening. Incited by Shakti, Indra attacked Krishna with all the soldiers that the gods could muster. Indra had his Vajra for a weapon, the other devils had clubs, swords, mace and spears. On seeing Indra on Airavata, Krishna blew on his conch shell and let loose thousands and thousands of arrows. The gods flung many weapons at him, but Krishna repelled all these weapons. Garuda also helped in the fight. With a mace, Krishna destroyed Yama's weapon. With his chakra, he destroyed Kubera's palanquin. With a glance, he robbed the sun of all energy. Agni was defeated with Krishna's arrows. The Vasus, the Rudras, the Maruts, and the Gandharvas had to flee. Indra and Krishna fought with each other while Garuda fought with the Airavata. Indra finally took up his Vajra and Krishna took up his chakra. Everyone in the three worlds was frightened because the worlds might be annihilated. But when Indra hurled his Vajra, Krishna simply caught the weapon in his hand. He did not fling the chakra. Indra started to run away. Satyabhama taunted him. "Indra, king of the gods, why are you running away?" She said, "Aren't you Shakti's husband? Fleeing does not become you. Don't run away. Here, take the parijata tree. Let the minds of the gods be at rest." Indra then apologized for all that had happened. He also said that there was no shame in losing to Krishna. For Krishna was after all nothing but Vishnu. Krishna smiled and returned the parijata tree, as well as Indra's Vajra, but Indra refused to take the tree back. He requested Krishna to take the tree to Dwarka. Once Krishna died, the tree would return on its own to heaven. This Krishna agreed to do, and the tree got the pride of palace in Krishna's garden in Dwarka. All the Yadavas came to see it. Narakasura's elephants, horses and other wealth has also been brought to Dwarka. The 16,100 women that Narakasura had imprisoned had come to Dwarka. Krishna married all of them. Krishna had more than 180,000 sons, but the best of them was Pradyumna, and Pradyumna's son was Aniruddha. Bali's son was Vanasura, and Vanasura's daughter was Usha. Usha once met Parvati and Shiva. She asked Parvati who her husband would be. Parvati replied that in the month of Vaishakha a person would appear in Usha's dreams, and this person would be her husband. As promised by Parvati, Usha did see a person in her dreams, but she did not know who this person was. She told her friend Chitralekha about this. Chitralekha thought that the only way to find out was to show Usha the portraits of various important personages among the Devas, Gandharvas and Asuras. But the required person could not be identified from the portraits. Usha was thus shown the portraits of humans, and immediately she identified Aniruddha. Many years ago, Banasura had prayed to Mahadeva. He had said, "Please grant me fights. I have 10,000 arms. What will I do with all these arms if I don't get a chance to fight?" "Be patient," replied Mahadeva. "One day you will find your flag lying broken. When that happens, you will get the opportunity to fight as much as you wish." At this, Banasura was happy. Meanwhile, once Aniruddha's identity had been established, Chitralekha wondered what could be done. She went to Dwaraka and secretly brought Aniruddha to meet Usha. That was the very day on which Banasura found his flag lying broken. The gods also came and informed him that Aniruddha was with Usha. Banasura sent his soldiers to find with Aniruddha, but Aniruddha killed them all with a club. Then Banasura himself entered the fray. Initially he was beaten by Aniruddha, but he used Maya to the Aniruddha up. Narada went to Dwaraka and told the Yadavas this. So Krishna, Balarama and Pradyumna came to rescue Aniruddha. Many were the soldiers that Krishna killed before entering the city. Also at the gate was a demon known as Jvara, a demon with a huge body, 3 arms and 3 legs. This demon had been born out of Mahadeva's body. The demon was so powerful that it even caused Balarama some discomfort. But Krishna created a demon from his own body, which killed the demon Jvara. Krishna killed many Asura soldiers. Banasura himself came out to fight. Mahadeva and Kartikeya fought on Bana's side, and Banasura's chariot was driven by Nandi. Terrible was the war between Krishna and Mahadeva, and everyone thought the world would come to end. But Krishna tied out Mahadeva, Pradyumna defeated Kartikeya, and Balarama killed many of Banasura's soldiers. Krishna and Banasura shot arrows at each other. Then Krishna took up his Sudarshana chakra and sliced off all Banasura's arms. But when he was about to kill Banasura, Mahadeva intervened and begged for Bana's life. This boon Krishna granted. At the end of the war, Aniruddha and Usha too returned to Dwaraka with other Yadavas. There was a king named Pundarika who suffered from the illusion that he was Krishna, the incarnation of Vishnu on earth. He adopted the name of Vasudeva and sent a messenger of Krishna saying, "Stop pretending that you are Vishnu. It is I who am Vasudeva. Come to me and beg for your love." Pundarika was a friend of the king of Kashi. Krishna told the messenger that he would leave for Kashi the very next day. Hearing the message, Pundarika got ready with his army. Krishna arrived in Kashi on Garuda. Krishna killed the enemy soldiers with his arrows, mace and chakra. He sliced Pundarika's body with his chakra and eventually killed him with a mace. He also killed Pundarika's friends, the king of Kashi. He cut off the king's head with his arrows and flung it into the city of Kashi. After that, Krishna returned to Dwaraka. When the head of the king of Kashi fell inside the city, the inhabitants were surprised at this strange phenomenon. But the king's son found out that Krishna was responsible for this and prayed to Mahadeva. When as a result of the yajna, Mahadeva appeared before him, the son begged, "Please create a demon that will kill Krishna, my father's murderer." Mahadeva agreed and created such a demon from the fire of the yajna. This demon arrived in Dwaraka wishing to kill Krishna. Flames issued out of his mouth, and its hair was also like fire. Krishna flung his Sudarshana chakra at the demon. The demon turned and ran, but wherever the demon went, the chakra followed. Finally, the demon arrived in Kashi, but the chakra followed it there and burned up the entire city. All the king's servants' house, horses, elephants and cattle there were burned. Having achieved its purpose, the chakra returned to Krishna. Krishna's son Shamba wanted to marry Duryodhana's daughter. He kidnapped her, but Karna, Duryodhana, Bhishma, Drona and other warriors fought with Shamba and managed to imprison him. On learning the news, the Yadavas got ready to fight with the Kauravas. But Balarama restrained the Yadavas. "Leave it to me," he said. "Let me go alone. The Kauravas will listen to me and will let Shamba go." Balarama went to Hastinapura but did not enter the city. Duryodhana and others learned on this and came to pay their respect. Balarama then told them that King Ugrasena had requested that Shamba might be released. But this request made the Kauravas angry. Balarama went, "What are you saying?" they asked. "How dare the Yadavas order the Kauravas? This is a bit like a servant ordering a master." Refusing the release Shamba, the Kauravas returned to Hastinapura. This angered Balarama. He grasped the foundation of Hastinapura city with his plough and prepared to hurl the city into the Bhagirathi river. This brought the Kauravas to their senses and they begged for forgiveness. Shamba and his wife were brought to Balarama and he forgave the Kauravas. Ever since that day, Hastinapura looks towards the river on one side. The asura known as Naraka was opposed to the Devas, and the Naraka had a monkey friend named Dvivida. Dvivida fought with the Devas and became particularly belligerent after Naraka was killed by Krishna. He destroyed all the yajnas and pursued the sages. He also destroyed cities, villages and forests. He even tore up mountains and flung them into the ocean. The ocean overflowed and flooded cities and villages. One day Balarama was busy drinking in a garden. Dvivida arrived there and began to make a general nuisance of himself. He picked up Balarama's plough and club, and despite Balarama's warning him, he continued to laugh at him. Greatly angered, Balarama picked up his club and the monkey also picked up a huge boulder. Balarama broke up the monkey's boulder with his club. The monkey then began to hit Balarama on the chest, but Balarama brought down his fist on the monkey's head and the monkey died. There was a place of pilgrimage known as Pindarika. Some Yadava youths once met the sages Kanva, Vishwamitra and Narada there. The Yadava youths dressed Shamba up as a woman and brought him to the sages. "Sages," they asked, "tell us whether this woman will have a son or a daughter." The sages saw through the game and were angered at the insult. "This person will give birth to a club," they said, "and the club will destroy your clan." In due course, a club came out of Shamba's body, but learning of the curse, King Ugrasena pulverized the club and had the dust scattered in the ocean. But the dust got changed into sharp reeds that grew on the shores of the ocean. A small part of the club could not be crushed. This was thrown into the ocean as it was, and the fish swallowed this piece. When the fish was caught, this piece of the club came out of the fish's stomach, and a hunter named Jara acquired the piece. There was a place of pilgrimage known as Prabhasa, and eventually the Yadavas went there. Only one Yadavas named Udhava went off to do tapasya on Mount Chanhamadana. In Prabhasa the Yadavas began to drink, and soon lost all control of their sense. They started to fight and picked up the reeds that were growing on the shores as weapons. Krishna did try to restrain them, but the Yadavas were in no mood to listen. Soon Krishna and Daruka were the only Yadavas who were left alive. Krishna and Daruka were wandering around and found Balarama seated under a tree. A huge snake came out of Balarama's mouth and disappeared into the sea. This means that Balarama had died. Krishna told Daruka, "Go and tell King Jarasandha all this. Soon I too will die, and soon the sea will swallow up the city of Dwaraka. Go and tell the Yadavas who are left in Dwaraka that they should wait for Arjuna's arrival, and that they should leave the city with Arjuna. And go and tell Arjuna to protect my people as best as he can. Vaja is to be made the king of the Yadavas." Daruka paid his respect to Krishna and left. Krishna sat down to meditate. The hunter named Jara arrived there. He had fashioned an arrowhead out of the piece of the club. Seeing Krishna's feet, he thought that it was part of deer and let loose an arrow. When he came up to see what had happened, he found that his arrow had pierced the body of a man. He begged for forgiveness, and Krishna assured him that Jara would go to heaven. In fact, a chariot immediately arrived to take Jara to heaven. Krishna died. He was 100 years old. Arjuna found the dead bodies of Krishna, Balarama and other impotent Yadavas and performed their Shraddha ceremonies. Krishna's 8 major wives died on Krishna's funeral pyre. Revati did the same on Balarama's. Ugrasena, Rohini, Devaki and Vasudeva also entered a fire. The others left Dwaraka with Arjuna. As soon as Krishna died, the Parijata tree and the assembly hall named Sudharma returned to heaven. The Kali era began, and the city of Dwaraka was swallowed up by this sea, with the exception of Krishna's own dwelling. Arjuna settled some of the Yadavas in the Punjab. But when he was taking the Yadava woman with him, the party was set upon by a band of Dacoits. Arjuna tried to repel the Dacoits, but found that he had lost all his powers. His strength had left him, and with Krishna's death. This is the end of the fifth section of the Vishnu Purana. Maitreya wanted to know more about the Kali era. In the Kali era, the norms of Varna and Ashrama will not be followed as is laid down in the Vedas. No one will pray to the gods. Relation between Guru and Shishya will cease. Might will be right. Women will all the time take care of their hair. Wealth will mean everything. Instead of spending money on dharma, people will spend money on building house. Money will be spent for oneself and not for guests. Men will be selfish. Money will be earned through evil means. There will be drought. Men will not bathe before having their meals. Both men and women will become shorter. Women will not obey their husbands. The kings will not take care of their subjects, but will only impose tax. People will become old when they reach the age of 12, and no one will live for more than 20 years. Evil will flourish. No one will worship Vishnu. All the classes will become like Shudras. There's only one good thing about Kali Yuga. In Satya Yuga one had to do a lot of tapasya to earn some punya. In Kali Yuga the same punya can be acquired through a little tapasya. The equivalence is like this. 10 years of tapasya in Satya Yuga are equivalent to 1 year of tapasya in Treta Yuga. 1 month of tapasya in Dvapara Yuga and 1 day of tapasya in Kali Yuga. Vyasadeva says that Shudras and women are fortunate. The other varnas have to do many things to ensure that karma is being followed. But for the Shudras the path of karma is simple. They only have to serve the other varnas to acquire punya. Similarly, men have to do many things to achieve punya. For women the attainment of punya is easy. They only have to serve their husband. There are 3 types of pravaya of destruction. The first being Brahma of Naimitika. Naimitika pravaya take place after a kalpa, that is after one of Brahma's day and after 14 Manu have passed. Before this provides the earth become weak and there are no rains for 100 years. Vishnu adopts the form of Rudra and drink up all the water. Then there is in the rivers, the ocean, the seas and the mountains. The 7 rays of the sun manifest themselves as 7 different suns. The suns burnt up the 3 worlds. Not only Bhurloka burnt up, but Bhuvarloka and Svarloka are also destroyed. There are dark and thick clouds everywhere. For 100 years it continues to rain. All is darkness. For 100 years the winds blow, and Vishnu sleeps on the waters that are everywhere till the worlds are created again. The second type of destruction is known as Prakrita Pravaya. The 3 basic gunas are, as you know, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas Guna. Their perfect balance is known as Prakriti. At the time of destruction, when Prakriti becomes assimilated into the Paramatman, that is known as Prakrita Pravaya. The third type of Pravaya is known as Adhyaktika Pravaya. This refers to the disciplines of 3 types of distress: Adhyamika, Adhidaivika and Adhibhautika. Adhyamika distress consists of physical and mental ailments like fever and sadness. Adhidaivika distress is that due to the elements such as coldness and heat. Adhibhautika distress is that which humans face from other living beings such as ghosts and snakes. At the time of Adhyantika destruction, this distress will also disappear. Many years ago there was a king named Dharmadvaja. He had 2 sons, Mitadvaja and Kritadvaja. Kritadvaja was interested in acquiring knowledge, and his son Keshidvaja also became interested in acquiring spiritual knowledge. Mitadvaja's son Khandakya was a king interested in karma yoga, that is union with the gods through action. But Khandikya and Keshidvaja tried to outdo each other. Khandikya eventually lost his kingdom to Keshidvaja and went off to the forest with his priests and ministers. Also he became a king. Keshidvaja used to perform yajnas. Once the cow intended for the yajna was eaten up by a tiger. This was a sin and Keshidvaja had to atone for it. He asked several sages what his form of penance, prayashchita, should be. But none of the sages knew. They all said that the right person to ask was Khandikya, who was now living in the forest. Keshidvaja dressed himself up in their skin and went to meet Khandikya. Thinking that Keshidvaja might have come to kill him, Khandikya took up his bow and arrow. But Keshidvaja told him that he had merely come to ask Khandikya a question. Khandikya told him what the right penance was. The Keshidvaja successfully completed the yajna. But he then realized that he had not given Khandikya the dakshina or fee that was due to a guru. As a dakshina, Khandikya desired that Keshidvaja instruct him on the path to spiritual knowledge. Keshidvaja told Khandikya about the true nature of Atman, which was different from the mere physical body. True knowledge was the which taught that the Atman was part of the Paramatman, and then one should therefore not get attached to material possessions. This realization came about through the practice of yoga. Om Namo Narayana, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe.